Hello, vested peoples. Mr. Jamar, how are you, my friend?
Woo! Coach D, what's up, baby? Vested.
Let's
What's
vested
up?
on a Thursday.
Tech team.
Why not? Tech team.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm in good shape, man.
Oh,
Here we are again. I really enjoy this. We're here to inspire, create, and empower. And we have an interesting guest here tonight, Jamar.
And what's our message tonight? It's not always funny.
It's not always funny. And the ironic part is that we're going to focus on comedy because the intention, the punchline here, is to laugh. But sometimes the way purpose unfolds and what needs to go into it isn't always funny. And hard work, dedication, failure, picking yourself off the ground, finding a way to make it happen. We see the guy on the stage. We see the dude with the microphone. We laugh at his jokes, but we don't know what it takes to get there, man. So tonight, we're going to talk to a good friend of mine.
Wow.
That went to the same high school. And we're going to ask him a little bit about his career and his purpose and how he got there and what he's up to.
Come on. Well, you think about this right now, Coach G, right? It's not always funny. I understand what we're talking about, the message behind the curtain, right? But what about the world today? How many people right now really, really need to laugh? How many people in the world right now really need to feel that energy from genuine, authentic laughter? That's the question.
I agree, Jamar. And I really think, I was just talking to our tech team, Rebecca, about this the other day, that there's a hack in today's life. And I'm going to share with everybody today. And I think that comedy fits in real well because you made a really good point, Jamar. We really need to laugh right now. We need to find ways to be able to make ourselves feel joy. And in weird ways, comedy highlights the idea that sometimes you can look at things that are very not funny and create a way within yourself to look at it from a perspective that makes you laugh, even if it's so terrible, you know?
Right.
So, all right, Jamar, let's bring on my guy real quick.
Let's bring
him about the comedy world. You know what I mean?
Let's bring him, man. We're so grateful to have this brother here today, man. Let's bring him in.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh,
what's up, Pete?
Pretty good, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here. Good to see you both.
Oh, man.
Well, it's a fellow Santa Margarita Eagle. We ran into each other on the sideline. Vested community. This is Patrick Keane. He is a funny man for life, but he takes things pretty serious. And he's here to talk about it a little bit with us today.
The Keane of comedy, baby. Keane of comedy. Welcome, brother.
Thanks for having me. No, it's good to spend time with you guys.
Man.
So lay it out there real quick.
Yeah.
Inspire, create, and empower. And before we get into this, let's know a little bit about you. Who are you today? Who were you that decided to get into this comedy thing? And then we'll inspire a little bit. Let's start with this guy.
Gotcha. Look at that guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that needs to be burned. I don't know why I sent that to you. Maybe it's just a laugh, but that might be the biggest laugh.
Hey, look at this, guys. Look real quick. Go to my stage. Who am I when I'm a superhero? Go tech team.
Who is it?
The picture. Yeah.
It's Clark Kent. Somehow he's
That's good.
Lots of hair and turns white.
That's good.
I may still have that tie. I graduated from Santa Margarita High School in 91. We were the charter class. 30 years ago, this summer we'll be celebrating our 30th reunion, our 30th year since graduating, which I'm actually helping plan. So if anybody's watching this, get in touch with me. And they're going to have it on campus out in Rancho Santa Margarita. And I went from there. You know, I moved around a lot as a kid. My dad took every new job or every promotion he could get, and he took us all. I'm number 2 in a family of four kids, and the 6 of us just traveled a lot. And I was in a lot of different schools growing up, and that forces you to kind of sink or swim, meet new friends. And I wasn't really smart, wasn't a great athlete, but I did have a little bit of a wit, I guess, a little bit of a personality. I was more of a commenter I just had kind of snide little comments, kind of cowardly little comments, but yeah. So then I graduated Santa Margarita, went to college in Montana, and then always wanted to, always wanted to at least write comedy, create some kind of comic content, and just went up to LA for 20 years. Just started doing open mics and trying to get weird jobs here and there.
Oh, Jay, hey, Coach G's gonna pull you back, Patrick. He's going too fast.
We'll show him. He'll know after the first one. The first one's back. We have to do this thing. That comes from me.
Oh, look up, Patrick, look up.
Okay,
tag team, I love it.
Before you end up in LA, before you're graduating high school to go to college, we got to start. We got to start with you. We got to start with that guy in the picture, maybe even before that. So you brushed over it real quick. And what we're really doing here is we're trying to expose the entire picture so that we can relate the experiences that we've learned from back to what the Vested community is going through and us as individuals. So start us off in the beginning when the snide comments and the influence of constantly bouncing around, that feeling inside of you. How did you turn the discomfort into laughter?
I think, that's a great question. I think part of it is I have two Irish grandfathers. One's from Ireland and one was from south side of Chicago. And I think the one from a lot of alcohol. And I think the one from the south side of Chicago was more Irish than the one from Ireland. But yeah, so they were both witty guys, and so I'm kind of the offspring of two witty drinkers, I guess. But you compound that with a lot of moves as a kid. You compound that with my dad was a big, loud guy. He was like, if John Madden and John Candy had a child, it would have been my dad. Not that they would ever have a child, I don't think, but it would have been my father. And gregarious, great guy, big personality. One of the, walks in the room. And then I have an older brother who's special needs. I have an older brother, special needs situation, and very extreme, very low functioning. And that forced the family to rally around ever since I was a little kid, trying to, that's kind of a sad situation. And so you try to lighten the mood, you try to make your parents feel better, maybe not as stressed. Because at the time there were just four of us. There was an older brother who was special needs. There was me, the youngest, and then two parents. And so, I can always remember way back trying to help my mom, trying to make her laugh, trying to ease tension. And then we had two more kids, and we had a great life, But we moved around a lot, and I was just trying to survive. I was a goofy looking kid, a lot of acne, big head and face, small body. And, if you want to be in the game, you got to step up. You got to do something. So it was always like sense of humor,
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, lighten the mood. I got my notepad out, man, because there's always notes and nuggets, right? I got my notepad. But seriously, what you just said, man, the real talk is you were trying to lighten the mood. So Vested community, I want you to take the day, because think about how many people need to have the mood lightened for them in their life right now, right? Things are such, we're always going to be talking about this because that's where we're at in this vibration. But I'm going to tee it up to you, Coach D, because that's something I got right there is lighten the mood. And that's something that we can do for our friends, for our family, for our loved ones, our colleagues, our business partners, our associates. If we can help people lighten the mood, I think that goes so far. So, Patrick, thank you for that one, man.
We do all three, Jamar, but before we move on to create, I want to stick with inspire real quick. I want to poke at it real quick. You're in this place where what you just explained to me was that there was discomfort, that you were bouncing around and you were in the process of understanding something that wasn't necessarily something you'd pick off the shelf. Let's just say you wouldn't desire to experience the feelings that you were living into. I'm interested in how you take all of that and those feelings and turn it into positivity, turn it into something funny that you can extract joy from. Like, talk to me about that feeling and the point in which you were able to go, okay, no, no, this is so bad it's good, and here's the words I'm going to use to be able to deliver it to everybody, and then getting that reaction so the feeling switches. Talk to me about that inspiration.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it comes from survival too. It comes from like, oh, the mood is so intense, or I have nothing to say. I'm not a great student. So your mind kind of jumps there. It's kind of a defense mechanism. And in a way I was hiding, and still am with comedy. You're kind of hiding with your comment, relationships always took a little while to get, because a girl would say, do you ever stop joking? Do you ever stop kidding around? And I'm like, are you kidding? I've got so many more. I'm hiding. I don't want you to see the real me, Even as a comic, even as a performer, I don't reveal. I'm pretty opaque. I don't reveal a lot about where I stand on things. It's a lot of joke telling. It's not a lot of real truth storytelling. If anything, that's kept me limited as a comic. But it's not over. Keep trying. Yeah. So I think that answers it a little bit. But as you keep going and you want to get further in any business, any walk of life, you're like, what would make me better? What's holding me back? And what it was is joy. Like, I'm telling these jokes and making these remarks, and there's a lot of kind of hate that's coming from them, even though they're cloaked in kind of clever banter. But eventually you do, to get to the top, you have to, it's a lot of things, the young athletes or young performers or business people, it's self-love. It starts with self-love.
Boom. Come
Okay.
on.
What do you think, Jamar? Can we create now?
Man, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Oh. Banner's on point. Come on, tech team.
A little better, right? Bigger,
Woo!
louder. There's stuff now. Anyway, so let's get into comedy. So you graduate from high school. You realize that this class clown thing is kind of working, whether it's in class or out of class. But you find a little value in the ability to feel uncomfortable out loud, and you turn it into something that you can really pursue at this point. So you're in college, and I'm assuming at this point you start doing some open mic nights, and you start to really do it. At what point do you hit the create button of going, wait a minute, I think this is in me, like real big, and I need to pursue it seriously? Like, when did that happen?
That's a great question. I didn't do it right out of college. I graduated, and then I worked at a shipping company in Oakland for a couple of years. And then I went and taught English in Korea for a year. And the whole time, though, I knew in the back of my mind, like, I just started writing, and it was like this garbage script just about my friends, but it literally fought its way out of me. I couldn't not do it. And then it was like, all right, what's next? I have this garbage script. Let's try stand-up comedy. I wasn't raised playing an instrument. I wasn't raised in acting classes. I didn't really write a lot as a kid. So what's the highest risk thing you can do? And it was get on stage right now, tonight, and just start telling some jokes. And so I was like, let's give that a try. And eventually whether you say it or not, or talk about it as you age, it found its way out of me. It was the urge was too strong from even my Irish Catholic repressive self to keep in. The urge to get on stage, be silly, make people laugh, bring pleasure to people, that made its way out. Maybe to a fault, because sometimes I had material that was a little too edgy or insulting, but it was, if a couple people suffer so that the masses can laugh, that's what I always did.
So it's Koreans and the Irish that led you to comedy, is what you're saying?
Exactly. They're very similar people. One's an island people, the other's a peninsula. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, Jamar, let's take a look. Let's give a little look at your craft. Robert, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you again. Jamar.
No audio.
Oh man, I'm back.
That's all right. Let's play the clip. Or I see you.
The world's gotten so violent. The world never got violent. There is no God. The world has been violent since the beginning. Cain killed Abel, right? Cain killed Abel. The third person on the planet killed the fourth person on the planet. We weren't even able to make it to three people. before somebody was a murderer. At one time, a third of the people on the planet were murderers, right? A third of the people in the hood aren't murderers. A third of the people who own guns aren't murderers. A third of the people in jail aren't even murderers. San Quentin, Folsom Prison, and Alcatraz are safer than the book of Genesis. So yeah, it's just like this whole thing with, like, who knows anymore with the sexual gender stuff. And you wonder, it's kind of Caitlyn Jenner was kind of the leader in that. If she's happy, I'm happy. If there were a surgery to become a comedian, I would do it.
Nice, man.
Hey, Patrick, word on the street is, man, you don't like to fly, man. What's up? What's that about?
Oh, you know that? Yeah. I don't know what it is. I didn't have that as a kid. I just had it in young adulthood. I don't know. I think because as I get older, as we all get older, and you realize, wow, these airplanes are being flown by human beings, and like I'm now that age. I'm older now than probably a lot of pilots, and it's like, oh, I know how imperfect people are, and I don't want, I don't know if, you don't always trust it, but yeah, it's you're on control for a couple hours, right? You have to give control up to people, which, if it's claustrophobia or it's like, ooh, for 4 hours I have to be on this thing in just this little space. I don't know. I'm kind of a baby that way.
Dennis, you said something that we do here on Vested that expose a little bit of vulnerability, and I'm gonna let Jamar get at you because this is his wheelhouse. But especially since we're in the creativity section, but you mentioned self-love, and I don't want to say that there was lack of, but the difficulty moving towards it. So Jamar, I want you to kind of approach the whole self-love thing and how he created from that perspective. Absolutely,
man. Thank you for that tee up, Coach T. Patrick, that what you said there with the self-love, I truly believe that's what helps us stay in our superpower state. As you know, as you're living your life, and there's many things that you're doing in life, but one of your talents and your gifts to the world is your ability to make people laugh. But the more self-love you give, the more you're operating at that higher level. So for you, how did you come to the realization that self-love was something that you needed and was important in your life?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it sounds trite and it sounds like, I don't know, mumbo jumbo, or like, what did you read, a self-help book? But it really is about valuing yourself, having respect for your body, what you're putting into it, food-wise, which I'm not great at in terms of healthy food, but it all comes from there, because I think sometimes we're in relationships and we're longing for, like, oh, I'll be happy once I'm dating someone. I'll be happy once I'm married. I'll be happy once there's all this money in my life. Once I achieve a certain level of success. And people that get those things generally didn't make those the conditions of their happiness. In my profession, Jerry Seinfeld was very happy as a comedian before he became a TV personality with his own talk show. And I think that part of that self-love or respect or self-esteem, that led to a good stand-up career, which led to a good television career, which leads to a good life overall. But too many people hinge their happiness on conditional factors, I think. And you don't, and we talk about, I whatever religion you're raised in, where it's like, oh, you'll be complete once you're married. That's when you're a complete person. And it's like, no, what if two people just went and were complete in their lives on their own, and then they met, you don't need someone to make you complete. You know what I mean? It helps, right? Like, it's a cute thing from Jerry Maguire, you complete me. But really, you should be complete going into a relationship. You both should. And then the relationship for both of you will be better.
Wow.
I like that you brought up the movie, because that's what Vested's about, is that, yeah, you see the final production on the big screen, but so much more goes into it. And as we're sitting here talking about creativity, and a lot of the Vested community, a lot of the world right now, we're all tinkering with stuff. And when things change and it's time to pivot, we need to come up with something. And I think this whole last year is having everybody turn inward. So with everybody tinkering with these things, whether they're interests or new ideas or passions, what is it that you would tell our community that changed an idea that you've been messing around with, like comedy, that brought you and other people joy, into like a serious passion that you knew you needed to pursue? So we have all these people tinkering with these little things.
Right.
What caught fire?
What caught fire? I don't know. Sometimes it's a little bit of panic in the middle of the night. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? You don't want to hold things on a pedestal. You know, whether if you have an idea for a new job or a move or you want to ask somebody out, you don't wait. What got me going was you try something and you fail at it. And I don't know, failure is funny. I think there's success and then there's learning from failure. So either way, you're coming out okay. And I just, when you try and fail, it's like, oh man, that felt good. You know, you ask some, I remember I was in love with this girl that worked at well, I wasn't in love with her. I didn't know her, but I really had a crush on her. When I lived in San Francisco in the late 90s, she worked at Gap down by Union Square. And I went and I'm like, man, I got to ask that girl out. Like it was just one of those, like, I got to ask her out at least. And I went back a week later after I'd met her and I was like, hey, I got to ask you. I know we don't know each other, but coffee, lunch, sometime. And she said, you know, I'm flattered, but I'm seeing someone. She may have been lying. I don't know. It doesn't matter. If she's not interested, she's not interested, or maybe she was telling the truth. Either way, I felt great walking away from that. I was like, oh man, I remember I was with my buddy, was waiting for me, my buddy Joe. And I was like, I felt I was on top of the world, even though she turned me down or, you know, had to. It felt great. And when you try these things and you fail, whether it's a sketch and improv class or a small business, hopefully you don't go in the tank financially, but you know, you get on stage, you try an instrument, you try a foreign language, you know, and you fail, and it feels good kind of, because you're like, oh, I'm trying and like, wow. You know, jumping out of an airplane or something, parachuting.
Man, I got a question, man, because you're speaking of that failure, right? And a lot of times that's how we, like you said, you just said failure, you know, you're either going to learn or you're going to succeed. So everything's going to be okay. Yeah. But take us back, Patrick, to the very first time you did stand up and you created that moment. Yeah. Where were you? What was that experience like? And here's the main question. How did you create enough confidence to step into that moment?
That's good. Yeah. You know, God, you think about those early days and those early moments, and it is like you get like butterflies. You're like, wow, I remember how excited I was walking into that club and getting on stage, and you just get you know, you might eat it. I remember thinking like, oh my God, I did so well. When does the sitcom come? You know, or thinking you did so well. I didn't do so well. You think you did so well. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is good. When do people meet you? When do the girls meet you? Or introduce themselves to you, stuff like that. And then the next week the crowd wasn't as big, and then you eat it. You eat it for 2 or 3 years. It's not, but you don't realize you're eating it because you're so happy and excited. You're getting up there, and you know, your family and friends are coming to shows, and you know, they're supportive, but they're like, oh God, he's got a long way to go, huh? But that some of that blind, young, youthful, innocent, you know, energy gets you through for those first few years. It's pretty great.
Jamar, this is it though. Can we do it now? Can we do Empower now? Can we do Empower?
Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go. Loving the new banners.
Man, you segued it. I think that's why I was inspired to have you come on the show, is because when I came up to you and I wanted to talk to you about comedy on the sideline of a football game,
yeah,
your answer to me was what inspired me, what wanted me to create a Vested show with you on it, because you didn't fall into this like, oh, it's my passion and I love it and this and that. You were like, I had to do it. Like I just, once it was there, once it was in me, like it wasn't about the sitcom. It wasn't about filling the seats. It was about finding a rhythm with who I was and being able to express what I had inside of me. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. It's, I don't know if it's what I want to do. It's what I have to do. You know what I mean? It's like, I have to do this. I just can't imagine living any other way. Living scared or living, repressed in a job, that drives me crazy to think that people like wanted to do things and they never even tried. It makes me sad. Do you ever see the movie Flashdance? From the early 80s. That was great. I remember as a kid, I was, even it's about dancing, I know nothing about that, but I think they're in Pittsburgh or something, and they work in a steel mill, and just that those girls, there were two girls that were trying, and I don't know, I loved that, they weren't brought up well with a lot of money and classes, and they weren't in like New York or LA or Chicago. She was in Western Pennsylvania, blue collar families, didn't have a lot of money. But there was so much beauty in trying, and whether they advanced or not, you can always go, oh, I gave it my best for as long as I could. And then you see life differently. Whether you succeeded or failed, if you go for it, you spend the rest of your life going, okay, I didn't do the office job and I didn't become the executive I could have, but the knowledge that I got, the self-knowledge, the universal awareness, how sinking in with people, I'm so much hyper alert because I put myself on the line full throttle, and I can understand artists. I can understand music better. I can understand maybe what a celebrity or a great, I don't know, leader is going through, because I'm like, oh, they're giving it their all. They succeeded. I gave it my all. I didn't succeed, but I know what it's like to, put yourself out there. And I don't know, you can connect to so many more things in life when you're pushing yourself like that.
Can I throw something in there real quick, man? Like I have to toss this out there as just a different perspective, in that the reason I was inspired to have you on this show is because I was inspired by the fact that you kept doing it. And I really do think that that's what Vested is about. I think that that's what the world's missing right now, is they don't understand the extra sparkle. They don't understand that, like, it might be the effort of me continuing to push that inspires somebody else to be a comedian, or to want to have them on my show, or to want to keep pushing. And it's like, to me, man, like, I don't see that as a failure. I look at that, if I can see the different perspective, I'm empowered by the drive. Maybe it's not the comedy, maybe it's the stretch towards something bigger than comedy. And honestly, man, like, I appreciate your vulnerability here with us tonight, because I think that's part of the purpose as well. That's part of the peak of the mountain that you've gotten there, and you're teaching now. So yeah. To transition, like we talked about the next move in comedy, how are you going to continue to empower people with this desire that you have within you?
I'll never stop writing. I mean, I'll never stop writing jokes, or, creating content, right? Like whether it's YouTube videos, online videos, whether it's jokes. I have a buddy who is animating a lot of my jokes now, making them like little comic strips, and we're going to sell a book here this summer, which I'm excited about, kind of a joke book. Yeah. And I can't keep it in. Like sometimes, I'll get a 6-week job, or a job on the side for 6 months here and there, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm playing it straight. I guess the comedy will stop now. And then, after a few weeks or whatever, it's like, oh no, here comes a script idea, a show idea. And then I'll write, a pilot, a 35 page pilot, and, keep that in your, your pile in case somebody ever comes calling. You try to submit it, you try to sell it. Here's a screenplay idea, work on that. Yeah, you got to have those creative outlets. And when you exercise those, your business-like outlets are stronger, and it lifts, like these dendrites, these synapses are going, and they lift the science part of your mind, the math, the music, the arts, the practicalness. Everything is elevated. You're stimulating the whole body, the whole soul. I don't know if I'm answering anything right, but
no, man, you're on point.
All over the place.
I'm wrong.
Yeah,
man.
So,
wow.
Yeah, and you just keep going. I mean, you just keep going, and you never know, because it's like, what else are you going to do? I mean, we're in such a hurry sometimes to be like, oh, I got to get to 50 or 60 so I can retire, so I can just play golf. And it's like, well, you're still going to be bored. Like, do something now that you love. Why are you saving your happiness? Don't save your happiness, you know? Don't save your joy. Like, you're just going to experience all that joy. Then the joy just comes. Like, no, you have to live and take things in. And, you know, no matter how life's going to get you, like, that's what, you know, working at a high school now and talking to younger kids and very ambitious people that have incredible resumes at the age of 18. It's like, okay, just know that life is going to find its way into your perfect world, and it's going to shake you up. And it doesn't matter if you go to Stanford, USC, UCLA, Harvard, you're going to take your lumps, and you better be agile, because someone out there is going to, you know, come from Cal State Fullerton, or, you know, wherever, North Carolina State, you know, some school that's not as high up there, but they've got a chip on their shoulder and they've survived a ton. And, you know, you compare it to teams when they go into the playoffs. It's like, oh, they're ready for the playoffs. They didn't have the best regular season, but they, you know, they had some injuries and they had to fight to the end to get into the playoffs. And then you see the team with the great record that kind of coasted all season. They usually get knocked off. You know?
Wow, man.
All right, man. Well, real quick, let's get some shameless plug in here, man. Let's talk to me about you real quick and how you're going to sprinkle your joy out there, whether it be ridiculousness or seriousness. What's next? I'm gonna do some stand up coming up. Memorial Day, I'm in Vegas, downtown Vegas, at Backstage Bar and Billiards, and then nice. I'm working on a YouTube series called there's two. There's one's called Mascots and one is called Fan Center, where it's like Sports Center, but the stories are about the fans. So we cover like, hey, why did you switch from spicy salsa to regular salsa? You know,
cool. Man, come on, man. Hey, like we were talking in the pregame here, Patrick, how, you know, when we laugh, that really releases that joy and that laughter, that joy and that feeling in your spirit. Just real quick, man, in your life, you know, what has laughter done for you as an individual?
It's great. That's a great question. I think it gets you through. I mean, I was born in 72, so I'm a kid. I'm a little kid in the 80s. I'm 8 to 18, and that was kind of the golden age for comedy movies, I think, with whether it was John Hughes, John Landis, you know, the whole SNL crew that had graduated into the 80s, whether it was Gene Wilder, you know, Bill Murray, Woody Allen, all these guys, you know, Eddie Murphy. Like, it's just so healing because it's so real. Like, kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, was great because he had age-appropriate conversations with kids. And sometimes we want to keep things hidden from kids. And so your outlet is comedy. And it's like, oh, I understand that, even though my parents probably don't think I understand that. So, and that becomes kind of your base for release. You know, release is the big word, right? Just like, oh my God, that feels so good, that those jokes, those words, what I just saw, Chris Farley or whomever, you know, Mike Myers, I loved. And like, it hits some nerve back here that tickles your brain, and you know, and Steve Martin, whomever, right? And I just keep listening comics. And I don't know, that just resonates because because if you spend a lot of time thinking, then that gets you out of your head, and it's such a chemical release rush.
Man. Hey, that's the science behind laughter right there, guys. That was it.
Thank you.
That was it. Coach D.
Well, I'm grateful again, as I always end up on these shows. I'm getting to the point now where it's consistent that I'm blown away when people get on here, and I have this idea of what it might be, and then the vulnerability of what you bring to the table turns it into something special, man. For me, as a selfish host, you know, I get so much out of this. So thank you so much for giving everything, not just your effort, but then to come in here and just be so open and vulnerable to say, hey, look, man, this is how it is. There's good, there's bad, there's everything in between. Yeah, Brene Brown, you know, there's strength and vulnerability. You have to put yourself out there. That's the strongest. And that's coming from a woman from Houston, I think. And she just, this is who I am, you know, and it's like so many of us are afraid to do that. Men are afraid to do that. And we're physically the bigger species. You'd think we'd be like, yeah, this is me, but we're very, protected. Well, look, that's what we got for Invested tonight. Everybody follow us, add us on Instagram, do the like thing. I'm not real. Do that computer thing, little tech team. Thank you so much. I love you, Jamar. You're my man. What we do at the end here is Jamar will now wrap us up and ask a question. Dennis, thank you so very much for being on the show.
Oh, man, Patrick, thank you, brother. And just want to tell our Vested community, that we love having people on the show who are shining a light in the world in their way. And brother Patrick's doing that. Follow him on YouTube, on Instagram, the Keane of comedy. And Patrick, we just want to thank you, man. Just know you're part of the Vested community now and forever. And there's anything we can do to support you and honor you and your path to shine light in the world, we're here for you. But just like Coach D said, Vested community, we know you're vested, but hit the follow on YouTube, on IG, on Facebook. Help support us. If you get value from us, and share our message with other people. And remember, Vested is not about me. It's not about Coach D. It's not about the tech team. It's not about the people we have on our show. Vested is a mindset. Vested is a frequency. Vested is about us being vested in what we believe in and what we're striving for as individuals. Just like Patrick today is vested in his commitment to continue shining light through laughter in the world. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, community, and keep this in mind. Patrick said tonight, laughter is healing. In the world we're in today, let's lighten the burden of people. Let's be that joy. Let's help people remember that smile and that laughter and love those around you, self-love, and go for it. Like you said, just remember, healing is in the laughter and laughter is healing. But no matter what you're doing out there today, here's the question. Are you vested?